senses. I welcome and extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the senior Vaishnavas of International Society for Krishna Consciousness. I also extend my gratitude to all the devotees who have assembled here on the Zoom platform for both the languages English and Hindi. And also I extend my warm welcome to the devotees who join us both offline and online from Facebook and YouTube. So I welcome each one of you to the second day Katha, organized in the loving memory of Purushottam Anand Chetwa by the Chetwa family. So I welcome each one of the devotees invited by the host family.
वैसे ही हमारे देवी माँ के सुपुत्र हम सब के पूजनीय श्री पुरुषोत्तम बापा का ये पूरा जेठवा परिवार.
So the son of Devi Ma Jetwa, Shri Purushottam Jetwa, and also in the loving memory of Ratan Ben, Jaya Ben, Bhanu Ben, Chagan Bhai, Harilal, Madhusudan, and Nitin Bhai Jetwa. So in the loving memory of the departed souls, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the host family from Kenya and Australia, Shri Manjula Ben, Hansa Ben, Jayant Bhai, Jagdish Bhai, Rajesh Bhai, Hitesh Bhai, Kishore Bhai, and Rakhi Jetwa. So, I once again extend my humble obeisances to each one of you to the second day's Katha. Hare Krishna, Radhe Shyam.
यदि
If someone was to ask us that what is your sarup, what is your nature, so after having heard so many kathas, for sure you would be able to give him a pointed answer that if we talk about this question in terms of the material level, then our body is made of 5 elements. But if we talk about elements or of a sophisticated higher level, then our nature is Sat Chit Anand, and which is the soul or the Atma. However, if somebody is not able to differentiate, you see, the material level with that of the element of soul and spiritual level, then such a person would answer that I am quite fair, I'm the owner of such and such group, I'm the owner of a particular company. So you see, these utterances, these answers are nothing but rather superficial level. So these are nothing but false ego and false titles which we enjoy temporarily. However, in real sense of the term, what are we? That our body is made of 5 elements and our soul is Sat Chit Anand. However, because we are celebrating the World Holy Name Festival and we are developing upon the glory of Harinam, and then we are entering upon to understand Shrimad Bhagavatam. So our Swarup, our nature is Sachidanand. The nature of Lord is Sachidanand.
हरि का नहीं, हरि का स्वरूप तो समझ में आ गया, हरि नाम का स्वरूप क्या है? सो हरि नाम का स्वरूप बताते हुए
The
हमारे
Swarup and the nature of Harinam, as elaborated in Vedas and Shastras, they say something like this.
पूर्ण शुद्धो नित्य मुक्तो अभिन्नत्वा नाम नामिनी.
So the Shastras and Slokas have gone on to explain the Swarup of Harinam, something like this. So it is like,
चिंतामणि समझते हैं?
a touchstone which helps you free of all tensions and worries. Even I am in search of it. I have not been able to search it. I'll take perhaps the first available flight, whatever may be the COVID protocols.
ऐसा मणि के चिंता करो,
So Chintamani is just like that touchstone,
वह वस्तु
which
आपके
is
सामने
like
प्रकट हो जाए.
just upon meditating, just upon thinking on a particular object, the object appears before you.
द्वारिकाधीश
So for your information, Lord Dwarkadish and the people of Dwarka and also the palaces of Dwarka were brought into existence by the touchstone by Paris Mani.
प्रकर सदमसु
And the abode of Lord is something like
सुरभि रभि पालयंतम. भगवान का धाम वैकुंठ भी
the abode of Lord, which is Vaikuntha,
द्वारिका की नगरी भी
is
चिंतामणि से.
all due to the touchstone Chintamani. And even
जगत में तो चिंतामणि ही चिंता.
Dwarka is also made of a touchstone. Other than that, everything is full of material bodies and material elements.
चिंतन करो पिज्जा.
So the touchstone is like you hold it in your hand and you focus on pizza, it shall appear. If you say pasta, it shall appear. If you say sari, then sari appears. And in case you meditate upon the thought of a car, that shall appear too, in case you hold a touchstone in your hand.
हरि नाम जो है
So what is the nature of Harinam? So Harinam Sarup is just like the touchstone, the Paris money.
करता है वो होकर रहता है.
So somebody who chants the holy name and meditates upon something that for sure goes on to happen and take place. So usually the devotees, basically the higher elevated devotees go on to for sure speak for the junior devotees
वैष्णव गुरुजन मिले
so that it happens for the junior devotees.
भीख
And
मांगनी
hence,
चाहिए
in the Gaudiya Parampara, in a Gaudiya tradition, the junior devotees must
एक बार आप मुझे अपना लो.
be consciously go on to,
लाल गोविंदास आपका है.
let's go on to utter and ask
ने ऐसा कह दिया कि ये मेरा है.
the senior Vaishnava that I belong to you.
उसे अपना
Because if a senior Vaishnava says that, the Lord will have to make that happen.
का स्वभाव है चिंतन करने मात्र से आपकी जो इच्छा है वो पूर्ण होती है. और क्या है? पूर्ण चैतन्य रस विग्रह.
And then what is the other nature of Harinam?
साधारण नाम की तरह नहीं है.
So Harinam is not just like an ordinary name. Just as Lord Hari is all complete, similarly the name of the Lord is all complete by itself.
माने चैतन्य माने भगवान का नाम जड़ नहीं है. पत्थर की तरह जड़ वस्तु मैटर नहीं है. भगवान का नाम चिन्मय है. और क्या है? रस विग्रह. ये
The name of the Lord is Chinmaya and Ras Vigraha. It is the Swarup or form of Vigraha. So Harinam is the Vigraha Roop.
ये सारे रस
So all the mellows are imbibed and a part of Harinam. And Harinam is all holy and pious. And the most important thing, there is no difference anyhow between the Lord's name and the Lord himself. So wherever shall there be Harinam, shall there be Hari himself. Wherever there is Lord Hari, shall there be his Harinam. So taking refuge to such Hariname, surrendering to such Hariname, we are engaging in pious and holy act of listening to Shrimad Bhagvat Katha. So now, so far you see, the chanting of Harinam is well accepted by everyone, But then, which particular Harinam or Mahamantra? So we have understood so far by the knowledge of Shastras and Vedas that it is the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. In this age of Kali Yuga, this Mahamantra alone can go on to deliver us, can purify us, and also make us powerful and eligible to reach the Vaikuntha. So yesterday, as I committed to you, that I would talk about 7 definitions of Harinam. Yesterday, we talked about the glory of Madhurya of Harinam. Today, we will talk about Aishwarya Mahima of Harinam. Whichever out of the 7 explanations suits you, you must adopt that and must continue to meditate upon the holy mantra and chant the holy name. So the second definition as per the Aishwarya Mahima goes something like this. Yesterday, basically, primarily 3 things that we understood yesterday was Hare, Krishna, and Ram. So we understood what's the meaning of Hare, Krishna, and Ram. So that was a Madhurya Garima that we understood yesterday. So talking about the Aishwarya Mahima, what is the meaning of Hari is there before you on your screens. So it goes like this.
Papam cha smaratam yasmat tasmat hari iti smrita tasmat hari iti smrita. जो लोग नोट कर रहे हैं उनको निवेदन कि जो हरित लिखा है ना वो स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक है, होगा हरती, हरती। वो जो स्पेलिंग है र के आगे हो गया है वो ती के त के आगे है। सो हरती त्रिविधम तापम, हरित नहीं है, हरती है। कभी कभी किताबों में भी प्रिंटिंग मिस्टेक हो जाती है। सो हरती, हरती माने हर लेना। ये हरि शब्द का अर्थ या उसकी व्याख्या बता रहे हैं। तो हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र में जब हम हरे बोलते हैं,
so when we speak Hare in Hare Krishna Mahamantra, so what is the meaning of Hare? It means Harati Trividham Tapam. In this world, the word tap refers to pain, sufferings. There are numerous and millions of sufferings in this material world. More you meet different kinds of people, you shall get to know different types of sufferings.
अब तो ये ऑनलाइन चल रही है, लेकिन एक जमाना था ना कि हम फिजिकल कथा करते हैं। एक साल में लगभग लाखों लोगों से मैं मिलता था। और
so when we used to do offline katha, I used to meet almost lakhs of people every year, and whomsoever I met, I was able to get to know different kinds of the pains and sufferings. However, the rishis and saints have gone on to divide all the pains and sufferings majorly into 3 categories. One is Adi Devik, the other one is Adi Bhautik, and the other one, and the third one is Adi Adhyatmik. And such pains and sufferings have been labeled as tap or the pain. So because it is also because dukh or pain or sufferings goes on to burns our mind, burns our heart. And hence the sages and saints called dukh as tapam. And hence the different pains and sufferings have been categorized into 3 categories. But when we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, so what happens then?
ये तीनों प्रकार के ताप दुख को हर लेता है। माने लाखों करोड़ों जो दुख है, असंख्य प्रकार के दुख,
take away all different types of sufferings and pains.
और साथ ही साथ दुख का कारण क्या है?
So what is
दुख
the
का
reason
कारण है
for
पाप।
pains and suffering?
देखते हैं
It
दुख
is the
को तो हर
sin.
सकता है, लेकिन साथ ही साथ
So
जन्म
not that
शतोद्भवम,
the Hare Krishna Mahamantra takes away your pains and sufferings, but also at the same time, the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra has the power to turn into ashes even the sins accumulated by an individual, a living entity, over hundreds of years of his birth. So 100 crores of births that an entity might have, Hare Krishna Mahamantra is all powerful to turn into ashes all the accumulated sins. So Hare, or the term Hare, means that it takes away all the pains and sufferings. So this is the meaning of Hare here. So when we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, you see, whenever we pronounce the term Hare, this process happens that all the different types of numerous sufferings and pains, broadly into three categories, go on to be relieved, and also all the accumulated sins are exterminated.
तयोर ऐक्यम परः ब्रह्म कृष्ण अपि अभिधीयते। ये उपनिषद का श्लोक है।
So this shloka comes from Upanishad, the one that is before you on your screen. So when we speak, when we chant the term Krishna in the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, so what is the meaning of Krishna here? The shloka says that
धातु से बनते हैं, और ये कृष्ण शब्द जो है ना वो कृषि धातु से, तो
so Krishna comes from
ये कृषि धातु जो है
Krishi
आकर्षक के अर्थ में है।
element. So Krishi here refers to something which is all attractive.
कृष्ण माने आकर्षक।
So Krishna means somebody who is able to attract. You see, there was a Bollywood movie also called Krish, and people started also keeping their names of kids. So Krishna means all attractive, extremely attractive.
कृष्ण जो है उसका अर्थ है आकर्षक, और कृष्ण अण शब्द जो है,
And Krishna means
निवृत्तिवाचक। कृष्ण में अण शब्द जो है, अण अक्षर जो है, अण लेटर, वो निवृत्तिवाचक, निवृत्ति का अर्थ है
so Ara here
और दुख की जैसे निवृत्ति हो गई तो सुख की प्राप्ति हो जाएगी। तो अण का अल्टीमेटली अर्थ होता है आनंद।
So Ara actually refers to pleasure or anand. So Krishi means all attractive and Ara means pleasure.
जो पूर्ण अट्रैक्टिव है,
So the one who is all attractive and who is all complete in himself, is having a lot of pleasure, is a Krishna. So basically this word Krishna attracts us when we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So you see, in order to progress on spiritual path, there are different pathways, Gyan Marg, Karmakand Marg, etc. But you see, there is no other mark, there is no other path other than chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Because in other pathways, you see, we need to focus and have a strong control over the mind and heart. So it is we who is supposed to labor and perform very, very toughly. So now, don't you think there's a limit to which you and me can go on to labor? So, but when we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, not just that you and me who are engaged in hard work, but also equally Krishna is also engaged in that. So when you focus and meditate upon Nirakar, formless Jyoti, formless flame, it is you alone who has to work hard. But when you chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and say Krishna or Krishi, so you see, when you take and chant the name of Krishna, then you see it is not that you are putting your hard work, but that Krishna will also perform that level of hard work to attract you towards himself. So in all of the paths to spiritual life, it is only one way lever, but the chanting of Krishna's name, the darshans of Krishna, and Bhagvat Katha, not just that you and me, but also Krishna is equally involved. That means there's no other way other than chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And that is the reason the sages and the saints considered this to be the best way to achieve God. And you see, in Krishna consciousness, what happens the moment you take one step and Krishna comes all the way to attract you with all intensity, because Krishna means all attractive. Somebody,
नष्ट होते हैं, दुख नष्ट होता है। जब कृष्ण बोलते हैं तो वो हमको आकर्षित कर लेता है, और अण बोलते हैं तो आनंदित
and
कर
when say
देता
Krish, then he attracts us, and when we say Ara, we go on to, you know, have and experience the pleasure and all happiness.
कृषि भूवाचक शब्दों अणश्च निवृत्तिवाचक, कृषि माने अट्रैक्टिव और अण माने आनंदमय। दोनों ऐक्य परम ब्रह्म, ये दोनों एक हो गए, मतलब आनंद और अट्रैक्शन दोनों जुड़ गया और बन गया कृष्ण। तयोर ऐक्य पर ब्रह्म कृष्ण इति अभिधीयते, इसलिए इनको कृष्ण कहा जाता है। सो हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र में ये कृष्ण का अर्थ, आइए अब राम का अर्थ क्या है।
Now let's come to what is the meaning of the term Ram in the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So this look also comes from Purans. So considering it from Aishwarya angle or Aishwarya glory,
हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। तो राम जब हम बोलते हैं,
so when we utter and chant Ram, Ram means what? Focus on the first line on the screen.
जहां रमण रमण करते हैं, रमण
So
माने रमण करना,
biggest of the yogis, where they walk around or move around.
किसी के बाप के नहीं होते हैं, आपकी
You
जानकारी
see,
है?
these yogis
पत्नी को छोड़
are
करके
all
परिवार, ऑफिस, काम
detached
धंधा सबको
and are all independent.
होकर निकल जाते हैं।
Vairagis.
ऐसे बड़े
These
बड़े
yogis
योगी
are
भी
Vairagis.
रमनते,
But such Vairagis and
श्री कृष्ण
yogis
के रस में आनंद में रमते रहते हैं,
goes on to immerse themselves in the mellow of Shri Krishna, enjoys the pleasure of focusing upon the name of Krishna.
बड़े बड़े योगी
So continuously, without a break, you know,
किसमें
very elevated and exalted sages and says,
चिदात्मनि माने
go on to focus upon the name of the
जड़
Lord.
स्वरूप, भगवान का स्वरूप हम जैसा नहीं, पृथ्वी जल अग्नि वायु आकाश से बना।
You see, the Sarup of Lord is not made of 5 elements that we are, but he has a Chinmay and such an Anand Swarup.
रमण करते हैं,
So the exalted devotees go on to focus upon that, and hence,
करते हैं योगी, इसलिए
and because continuously the yogis
राम कहा जाता है।
go across this, and hence Krishna is also called as Ram,
योगी निरंतर रमण करते हैं तो
because
रमयति इति
they're always engaged in that.
गुण रूप लीला अपने आनंद में योगियों को भी रमाए, उसे राम कहते हैं।
So the one who engages the yogis in Gun Roop Leela, such is called as Ram.
योगी हैं हम, तो बने ही हैं भोग भोगने के, आनंद लेने के लिए।
So imagine if such yogis can go on to take such a pleasure, then why the bhogis would not be able to take the pleasure, that is Anand. The only thing that the bhogis need to do is to utter the holy name. And also what is the need is to focus upon the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra.
वैसे तो 15 दिन तक हम हरि नाम और महामंत्र,
So you see, we can continue to talk about the glory of the Maha Mantra endlessly, but we need to move on.
महिमावंत
You
है
see,
भगवान का नाम। रामायण में यहां तक लिखा, कहो कहां लगी नाम बड़ाई, नाम
It's
की
far more powerful.
है। कहो कहाँ लगी
You
नाम
see,
बड़ाई, तो कहते हैं राम न सकहि नाम गुण गाई। स्वयं भगवान भी अपने नाम के गुण,
so
अपने नाम के
even the Lord by himself cannot sing the glory of his name.
जो बहुत सुंदर है भगवान का नाम, ये
So
महामंत्र
you see,
हमारा परम
the
सौभाग्य
Mahamantra
कि हमें ये
is nothing but the Lord himself. It's very fortunate that we have got this mantra,
श्रील प्रभुपाद,
and entire credit goes to Srila
ये
Prabhupada.
साधु न होता ना,
Had Srila
महाराज
Prabhupada
समाधि में
not been
बैठकर
there,
हरि हरि
perhaps we
बोल
wouldn't
रहे
have
होते,
been able to be
भागवत को
talking
सुन रहे
together
होते,
and would not listen to
भगवत गीता
Bhagavad
का
in the
समर्पण,
context of
और श्रील प्रभुपाद जी की
understanding
आज
the name of Hari.
भाद्र पूर्णिमा है।
So on the day of this Bhadra Purnima, you see,
सदगुरु श्री प्रभुपाद जी
Srila
का
Prabhupada
संन्यास
actually went on to get initiated into sannyas ashram.
प्रभुपाद का संन्यास हुआ था।
So it was upon this
जिस समय श्री प्रभुपाद जी संन्यास ले रहे थे,
so the time
विचार करता हूँ
was getting initiated into
गेरुआ भगवा धारण किया था,
sannyas. I just try to imagine
भगवा
that when Srila Prabhupada
आगे
gave
चलकर
up
लाखों
upon
करोड़ों
his
लोगों को
white
जागृत कर
clothes
देगा।
and adorning
ये श्री
himself in
प्रभुपाद जी
saffron,
आज के दिन
nobody would have
संन्यास ले रहे
predicted
थे, आज
that
के
such
दिन भारत
a
का,
personality
दुनिया
would
का
transform the
भविष्य
entire world. So Srila Prabhupada was not adorning
ये
sannyas,
विविधता जो है
rather,
एक बहुत
you
बड़ी
see,
क्रांति का
it
एक
was a
संदेश था
revolution,
इस दुनिया को।
a message of revolution by the Lord himself.
ये प्रभुपाद जी का
So
उद्देश्य
Srila Prabhupada, you see,
आज भाद्र
got
पूर्णिमा
initiated into sannyas.
तो उस समय खींची गई।
So this is the original picture of Srila Prabhupada.
आ जाएंगे इस प्रकार से, मतलब
Look at the pose of Srila
मूड
Prabhupada. The mood is
संन्यास लेकर
that now when I have turned into a sannyas,
भागवत
I
के
will
घर में पहुंचा।
take to the prachar and bring Bhagavad to every household.
पूर्णिमा और
So this way, the full moon night of Bhadra Purnima and sannyas of Srila Prabhupada, and the biggest glory of this day,
के दिन
it was
गंगा के
upon this day that on the banks of river Bhagirathi,
कथा समाप्त हुई।
Shrimad Bhagvat Katha came to a conclusion, and Maharaj Parikshit set his journey towards the abode of Lord the Vaikuntha.
सूत जी ने एक श्लोक में आज के दिन का जिक्र
And
किया।
upon today's day, it has been mentioned by Sud Goswami. Very beautifully, Sud Goswami said the shloka before you on your screens.
हेम सिंह समन्वितम ददाति यो भागवतम सयाति परमां गतिम सयाति परमां गतिम। श्री सूत गोस्वामी नैमिषारण्य में
Goswami in Naimisharanya
बताते हुए कहते
goes on to explain the glory of today's day. So Sud Goswami ji says,
माने भाद्रपद, ये जो भादो
Proshtapad means Bhadrapad.
की पूर्णमास्याम पूर्णमासी पूर्णिमा के दिन
So on the full moon night of the month of Bhadrapad, what should be done?
अर्थ करूं, ध्यान से सुनिएगा आप लोग। प्रोष्ठपदाम पूर्णमास्याम भाद्रपद, प्रोष्ठपदाम माने भाद्रपद।
So Prashtapada means the month of Bhadrapad.
की पूर्णिमा के दिन
Purnamasya means the full moon night.
हेम सिंहा समन्वितम।
So what is to be done on the full moon night of Bhadrapad?
पटनी परिवार,
So He means gold. Patni family and Amit Prabhu must listen very carefully. He means gold, which is 24 carat.
और हेम सिंहा समन्वितम माने 24 कैरेट रियल गोल्ड के सिंहासन के ऊपर रखकर।
So on the throne of gold,
सहित
And what must be done?
भागवतम, ये जो भागवत ग्रंथ है, इस भागवत ग्रंथ
So
को सोने
the
के
Bhagavatam
सिंहासन रखकर
must be
ददाती,
placed
माने
on the
दान
throne of
करना।
gold
ये मेरी
and
बात नहीं है,
must be given in charity.
12वां स्कंध 13वां
Srimad
अध्याय
Bhagavatam 12th canto 13th chapter and 13th sloka. 12, 13, 13.
भागवत में पृष्ठपदाम पूर्णमास्याम भाद्रपद की पूर्णिमा के दिन हेम सिंहासमन्वितम सोने के सिंहासन में
So on the full moon night of Srimad of Bhadrapad,
सोने के
being
सिंहासन में भागवत
placed
रखकर दान
on the throne of gold, it must be given charity,
माने जो
which
आज के दिन
an individual who engages in placing Shrimad Bhagavatam on the golden throne and gives it in charity, then what is the result and fruit that he gets? The fruit that the living entity gets is that he get ultimate deliverance and attain the Lord.
परम गति कौन सी है?
So what is the ultimate deliverance? The living entity's paramgati is to get resettled into his own sarup, re-establishing the relationship with the Lord in whatever mellow he looks forward to, and reaching the final destination, which is Golok Vrindavan. So such a living entity, such an individual goes on to reach abode of Lord, that is Vaikuntha, Golok Vrindavan.
हेम सिंहासन, सोने के सिंहासन में भागवत रखकर दान करना होगा। ठीक है, तो सोने के सिंहासन का ऑर्डर कर दो और फिर उसमें एक रखो भागवत और फिर दान करो। भागवत रखो या न रखो, सोने का सिंहासन तो दान कर देना। तो जब बंदा ये सुनेगा, ये भागवत का ही श्लोक है, तो कोई भी आदमी कहेगा यार ये भागवत तो समझ में आता है। भागवत
listening to such a shloka, don't you think any living entity would be perplexed that, okay, talking about Bhagavatam is fair enough, then but what is the logic behind placing it on the throne of gold? So everyone would not be able to have the capacity to do that. You see, the box which I have before me, you see, is made of pure silver and kept Bhagavatam and brought it to me and requested that, oh Prabhu, I do not have the capacity of the gold, but may you please keep it.
सोने के सिंहासन पर भागवत रखकर आज के दिन दान करने की महिमा है। हमारे वेद, हमारे
Yeah, Vedas, our Shastras are really very great. There's a huge glory of it.
किसी एक व्यक्ति के लिए नहीं, सबके लिए बने हैं।
So you see, these Shastras and Vedas are not just meant for one person, but for all. So it's not that the definition of the Vedas and Shastras is applicable only on few, but rather each one of us. So once we understand the meaning, we will be able to understand the meaning of Hem Singhasan. That
भागवतम ददाती, भागवत को कोई देता है वो परमाम गति, परम गति को प्राप्त होता है। लेकिन हमारी सुई अटकी है, सोने का सिंहासन क्यों?
So each one of us are actually having a curiosity that why the throne of gold. So now we shall engage on the throne of gold for a while. So there are 6 meanings which are occurring to me, and you see, each one of us getting one meaning. In terms of our understanding, we can go on to adopt and accordingly give in charity Shrimad Bhagavatam. So you see, Shrimad Bhagavatam is the king of all Purans, and hence it is called as Puran Tilakam. So it is foremost amongst all the Purans. It is the king of all Puranas. So for Shrimad Bhagavatam, it is written that just as there are millions of rivers, but Gangaji is the best. Amongst all demigods, it is Vishnu who is foremost. Amongst all the Vaishnavas, Lord Shiva is the best and foremost. Similarly, amongst all the Shastras and Puranas, Shrimad Bhagavatam is
और
the
इसलिए आप
best and
देखोगे
foremost.
यूं तो व्यास मुनि ने अनेकों ग्रंथ लिखे
You see, though Vyasmuni ji had written many Shastras and texts,
श्रीमद शब्द लगाया
but there are only two texts for which Shri is prefixed, which is Shrimad Bhagvat Gita and Shrimad Bhagavatam. Now you must ponder that is the term Shrimad or Shri prefix before any Shastra. For example, it is Shiv Puran, it is Shiv Puran. For example, Garan Puran is Garan Puran. It's not Shrimad Garan Puran. Only two Shastras which have prefix, which have got the prefix of Shrimad Bhagavad Gita and Shrimad Bhagavad Puran, because Shrimad Bhagavatam and Shrimad Bhagavad Gita is the king of the Shastras. And the king does not get seated on wood or iron. The king always gets seated on the chair of gold. And hence, Sri Sud Goswami says, because Srimad Bhagavatam is king of all Shastras and hence must be seated on the throne of gold. Another meaning of Hem Singhasan is
सूर्य देवता सिंह राशि में होते हैं और ज्योतिष शास्त्र के अनुसार
so Suryadev is situated in the Leo sign, and the arrival of sun in the Leo sign is very auspicious, and because sun is just like gold and the sign of Leo is like a throne, and because we're talking about Srimad Bhagavatam be seated on the throne of gold, it means that especially if upon this day, if we go on to give in charity Srimad Bhagavatam, we get the result of giving in charity Srimad Bhagavatam on the golden throne. The next meaning given by Sudarshan Chakraji is, so the next meaning is that along with Srimad Bhagavatam, the loin of gold must be made and it must be given in charity. Some other Acharya gave another meaning that
ददाती यो भागवतम भागवत दान करे कैसे सोने के सिंहासन में रखकर। तो इसका एक अर्थ यह है कि सोने का सिंहासन माने भगवान के चरणों में स्पर्श करके भागवत दान करें।
So another Acharya gave the meaning that Shrimad Bhagavatam be touched to the lotus feet of the Lord and then it must be given charity. Now you must have a curiosity that what is the relationship of Shrimad Bhagavatam and the lotus feet of Lord. Let me share a story with you. Once it so happened that Maitre Muni went on to seek some knowledge from Rishi Parashar. Rishi Parashar went on to offer huge knowledge of Shastras to Maitre Muni. And at last, Maitre Muni said, "O Guruvar, what do I offer you as Guru Dakshina, as your feast?" Then Rishi Parashar replied that you give me gold in Guru Dakshina. Now, Rishi Maitre was about to say, "Oh, Guru, Sona, that is gold." But then Rishi Parashar said, "Till the time you get it to me, I would not listen to you. Until the time you give that to me, the knowledge shall not apply to you, the one that I've offered you." Now Rishi Parashar Rishi Maitre was perplexed and confused that how come the Guru is asking for the gold, and how can I be in a position to afford gold because I'm a Brahmin? And then meditating and thinking upon this, he realized, Rishi Maitre realized that I have been asked to get gold, which is Suvarn. So the meaning of Suvarn is not just gold. Varn also in a way means complexion. So Varn also means beautiful complexion, beautiful color. The best color in this world is that of Sri Krishna. And Varn also means word or the Shabd. So word means beautiful name. Who has the beautiful name in this world? And that is Sri Krishna. Hence, Maitre Muni got to have the answer to this question that my Guru perhaps has asked me to bring Suvarn, which means that he has asked me to fetch Sri Krishna. And now he straight away headed to River Gandaki and took the holy tip and picked up the Shaligram and presented Shaligram to Rishi Parashar. And that is how he completed the situation of Guru Dakshina. And Rishi Parashar blessed Rishi Maitre. Because Lord is beautiful, his name is beautiful, and hence Lord is called as Suvarn. And even Mahabharat, it is said that Suvarna is nothing but the name of the Lord. So, touching Shrimad Bhagavatam at the lotus feet of the Lord and must be given in charity. And by this way, we will get ultimate deliverance and reach the abode of the Lord. Now, the last, the final one, and a very practical meaning that I want to place before you, that today's day, which is the full moon night of the Bhagavatam, what is the meaning of the throne of gold? So a heart full of devotion, a heart full of love and mercy. A heart full of mercy is real gold. So it means what? That with loving devotion, with mercy at your heart, give in charity to Shrimad Bhagavatam to other devotees. This is the meaning of the throne of gold. So you see, you need to first develop the heart full of devotion, isn't it? In order to attain the abode of Lord, one must develop himself in terms of devotion. So how would a heart be full of devotion? So this can happen only when one reads and studies Shrimad Bhagavatam himself. Sometimes we engage more in giving Bhagavatam to others rather than reading it to ourselves. And now how would the heart full of love shall develop? It shall develop by Shrimad Bhagavatam ourselves in our lives, and then we would offer it to others. So first, that we must read Bhagavatam, and then we talk about giving it to others. That first we must imbibe it in our lives and then share it to others. And a heart full of mercy means what? That we must have tenderness, kindness, and mercy at heart when we give it in charity, meaning to say that looking at the issues and problems and suffering of others, we must offer Bhagavatam. So sometimes you see, we give Bhagavatam just in order to do a formality of false pride, etc. No, these are not the right reasons, you see. I never endorse that. There should not be any competition in this sense. In real sense of the term, Bhagavad must be given in charity only for one reason, and that is that for the mercy and the ultimate deliverance of living entities. And this can only happen, you know, with the merciful heart, with the kind heart. The living entity can go on to offer Bhagavatam only if the person have the mercy and blessing of Srimati Radharani. Sukdev Goswami ji could deliver Bhagavatam with mercy and kindness because he was the parrot of Srimati Radharani. He was a blessed entity from Srimati Radharani. So you see, upon today's day, if we offer Bhagavatam to somebody, we can go on to reach the abode of Lord. So Srila Prabhupada, when he initiated himself into sannyas, and then after this, Srila Prabhupada was traveling from India to America. Somebody asked Prabhupada if he was going to America. Srila Prabhupada answered that I am not going to America. It is rather this Bhagavatam which is going to America, and I am accompanying Shrimad Bhagavatam. So the point to be noted is that Srila Prabhupada went on to offer Shrimad Bhagavatam with tenderness, kindness, and with a merciful heart and loving heart. So you see this Jetwa family upon this auspicious day is offering us Shrimad Bhagavatam, and I also have been fortunate to offer Bhagavatam by way of speaking. And all the devotees who have gathered here are also distributing Bhagavatam by listening to Shrimad Bhagavatam Katha. So you see, there's a huge glory of offering Shrimad Bhagavatam.
परीक्षित भागवत सुने और अपने जीवन का कल्याण किए, इसे हम श्रवण करेंगे। गत सत्र में हम सब ने सुना कि महाराज परीक्षित को
So yesterday we understood that Sri Parikshit Maharaj was hurled a curse, and he came at the coast at the bank of Sri Bhagirathi, and he took a resolution that he would listen to Shrimad Bhagavatam. Many sages, saints, and rishis arrived at the bank of river Bhagirathi, and by the willingness of the Lord, you see, Vyasanandan Sri Sukdev Goswami appeared. 16 years of age, Digambar situation, long hair, and almost the appearance like that of Sri Krishna. Such Sukdev Goswami was offered the pranam by everyone, and he was made to sit at the highest place, highest throne, and everyone made a request that Sukdev Goswami be narrating Shrimad Bhagavatam to all those who were present, and especially Parikshit Maharaj made this request.
तो ये पहले स्कंद में तो भूमिका है।
So you see, the first canto only has the introduction. So the assembly of sages and saints, the 6 questions of sages and saints, then the 24 incarnations, then the end of Mahabharat, then the stuti of Kunta Devi, Bhishmaji, and the birth of Parikshit Maharaj, and the meeting of Sri Sukdev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. So in 19 chapters, this is the story. So the 19 chapters of the first canto goes on for completion. I want to know how many chapters are there in all, entire Bhagavatam. So the question is, how many chapters? First canto has 19 chapters. Ideally, it should be 332 or 335 in entire Bhagavatam.
गोस्वामी बोलने जा रहे हैं तो श्रीमद् भागवत के दूसरे स्कंद के प्रथम अध्याय में सुखदेव गोस्वामी महाराज परीक्षित के प्रश्न और उनकी जिज्ञासा का अनुमोदन करते हैं।
So now Sukdev Goswami goes on to acknowledge the queries and questions of Shri Parikshit Maharaj.
दुनिया के लोग आपस में मिलते हैं तो बस यही पूछते हैं अच्छी रेस्टोरेंट कहाँ है, अच्छा खाना पीना कहाँ मिलेगा, लेकिन धन्य हो तुम कि आत्म तत्व।
So Shri Sukdev Goswami greatly acknowledges the queries of
तो भागवत ये दूसरा
Parikshit Maharaj. So this happens in second canto.
तो दूसरे स्कंद के पहले अध्याय में सुखदेव गोस्वामी ने ध्यान विधि।
So in the second canto, first chapter, Sukdev Goswami went on to explain the Virat form of Lord and also Dhyan Bhakti. You see, I look forward to explain all the cantos and chapters to you. So you must be very, very conscious and attentive. So meditation and the Virat Swarup of Lord gets word mentioned in the second chapter, in the second canto, first chapter. In the second chapter of second canto, how a yogi by Ashtanga Yoga goes on to attain Lord, and how a devotee of the Lord, other than ignoring Ashtangic mark, how can he attain directly the Lord? This is narrated by Sukdev Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj. If I put it easily in simple terms, if you need to go to the 25th floor, one way is that you go by way of climbing the stairs. So this climbing of the 25 floors by stairs is the Ashtangic mark, Ashtangic Yoga. So by way of climbing the stairs, you aim to go to the 25th floor, and the other option is to enter and board the lift and press the 25th floor and reach directly to 25th floor. So to attain the Lord, the Prem Marg and Bhakti Marg is to attain Lord by way of elevator, while the other parts are just like climbing the stairs. So in the next chapter, so in the third chapter of the second canto, as per the desires of the living entity, how the different demigods we worshipped, this is mentioned. For example, it is said that in case you want Brahmatej, then you must invoke Brahaspati. If you want power, then you must invoke Rudragan. If you need grains, you must invoke Aditi. If you want Praja, you must worship Prajapati. If the boy is not getting married, then you must worship Guru Vrishi. If you want a Roop, then Gandharv. If you want to develop the love between husband and wife, then Shiv and Parvati.
भागवत के दूसरे स्कंद के तीसरे अध्याय में किया, और फिर अंत में पूछा गया कि ये तो एक देवता की उपासना करेंगे एक चीज मिलेगी, ये सब कुछ चाहिए
Then Parikshit Maharaj raised this query that we have to worship so many demigods for these things. Is it possible that we can get everything by worshipping one Lord? Then Sri Sukdev Goswami said that if you worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then there is no need of worshipping so many demigods, because Krishna is the root of everything. If you worship Krishna, then it would be equal to the worship of all demigods, and all your desires will come true. In the fourth chapter, Parikshit Maharaj raised queries about nature, about Prakriti. You see, be it Sankadik, be it Parikshit Maharaj, or be it Maitri sage, they directly did not develop into questioning the 10th canto. Rather, they made the queries to understand the nature element wise. So, Sukdev Goswami now went on to answer in the 5th chapter of 2nd canto. Shrishti or nature gets mentioned and narrated. In the 6th chapter, in the 7th chapter of 2nd canto, narration of Leela Avatar Katha of the Lord. So you see, in the first canto, incarnations were talked about, but now here it was in details in the 2nd canto, which is the 7th chapter of 2nd canto. In the 9th chapter of 2nd canto, the darshan of Brahmaji of Bhagvatam and Shrimad Bhagavatam being narrated by the Lord to Brahmaji. This gets mentioned in the 10th chapter of the 2nd canto. How Brahmaji appeared and Brahmaji meditated, and then Lord appears and in Lord gives the entire knowledge of Bhagavatam to Brahmaji in 4 shlokas. And see, on one hand, it is me who has been narrating 4,000 shlokas, but I have not been able to get the desired results. In the 10th chapter of 2nd canto, 10 depictions are mentioned, or the 10 qualities of Bhagavatam. The first element of Bhagavat is Sarg, then comes Visarg, then place, then nutrition, then it's Uday, then it's Manvantar, it's an Anugraha. 10th is Ashraya. So in the 2nd canto, 10 chapters are there. So that is how 29 chapters.
तो सुखदेव जी महाराज परीक्षित को कथा सुनाने लगे, दूसरा स्कंद भी समाप्त हुआ। अब तीसरा स्कंद प्रारंभ हुआ, अतः तृतीय स्कंद प्रारंभ।
Now the 3rd canto begins.
ये सब मेरे पास श्लोकों में लिखा हुआ है। धृतराष्ट्र परित्यज्य, धृतराष्ट्र महाराज को त्याग कर विदुरस्य गतः, महाराज विदुर चले गए और उद्धवेन सह समागमः, और क्या किया, उद्धव के साथ उनका मिलन हुआ।
So Dhritarashtra gave up upon everything from Hastinapur and he met Dhritarashtra.
लेकिन जस्ट मैं आपको लिंक दे रहा हूं क्योंकि भागवत का ओवरव्यू भी समझ में आना चाहिए कि क्या है इसमें। और आज के दिन तो इसकी महिमा है, भागवत दान करने की, से सुनने की। सो प्रथम अध्याय में किस प्रकार से दुर्योधन पांडवों के प्रति,
in the 3rd canto, how Duryodhan is acting in a very unjustified manner against Pandavas, and Vidurji could not tolerate it. And now Vidurji goes on to place a request to Dhritarashtra that, oh my king, I am not just a minister but a brother also, and hence I request you that you must stop Duryodhan, else your son will become a root cause of the devastation of the entire Kuruvansha. So must you stop your son.
दुर्योधन बोल पड़ा। दुर्योधन भरी सभा में विदुर जी का अपमान करते हुए कहता है, क एव मात्रोपजुहाव जिह्मम दास्या सुतानेव बलिनेव पृष्ठ
entire court of Hastinapur. O Vidur, must you remain shut? Must you shut your mouth? Do not forget who you are. You are the son of a slave. You're the son of a servant. You are a slave to us. And you cannot speak like this. Now, Vidurji completely ignored the insult hurled by Duryodhan. He was only focusing upon Drashta Maharaj, that is the king, the authority of the court. But Vidurji realized that it is not just the father, that is the king, who is blind, but also the son. So Vidurji realized that I must not stay at a place where the Pandavas, who are pure Vaishnavites, are insulted. I must not stay at such a place. So Vidurji left, and then he went on to go from one pilgrim to another, and then he reached Vrij Vrindavan, and Mahatma Vidur met Uddhavji at Vrij Vrindavan. So this story is mentioned in the third canto's first chapter. Now coming over to the second chapter of the third canto. Now Uddhavji goes on to narrate the childhood activities and pastimes of the Lord when Lord was a young child.
विदुर जी ने कहा कि बताइए कृष्ण कैसे हैं, कृष्ण कहाँ हैं?
Now Vidurji questioned, where is Krishna, what Krishna is doing, and how he was engaged in childhood. So Uddhavji goes on to mention all child pastimes of Krishna. In the third chapter of the third canto, Mathura Leela and Dwarka Leela was narrated by Uddhavji. In the fourth chapter of the third canto, Uddhavji went on to narrate the devastation of Yadvansh. And then Uddhavji narrates to Vidurji that Krishna abandoned all of us. The moment Vidurji listened that Krishna had left and abandoned them, Vidurji got very restless, but one thing pacified him. And what was that?
कृष्ण जब जा रहे थे तो जाते जाते वे मुझे भागवत देकर गए। कृष्ण मुझे प्रभात क्षेत्र में प्रभात लेकर गए।
So as Krishna was leaving, he narrated the Bhagvatam to me and also to Maitreya Muni, who was sitting beside me. And when he was leaving, O Vidur, he was recalling you. Krishna was saying that if ever my Vidur comes to you, then must you narrate his Bhagavatam to Vidurji. So Vidurji started having continuous tears rolling down his eyes, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, when he was leaving the material world, his heart got filled with tears. And then Vidurji asked, where would I get to have Lord Krishna? Vidurji came to Haridwar and he met Maitreya Rishi, and then he expressed his curiosity to Maitreya. So this was the fourth chapter of third canto. In the fifth chapter of third canto, Vidurji went on to raise queries and questions to Maitreya Muni. In the sixth chapter of third canto, Maitreya Muni goes on to mention the Virat, the humongous, the huge body. of the Lord. Then the next, there were numerous questions of Vidurji to Maitraji.
होने के लिए मेहनत करता है लेकिन हासिल केवल दुख होता है इसका कारण क्या है तब मैत्रेय ऋषि ने अनेकों
So Vidurji goes on to raise queries like that why does a person who toil hard still get sufferings in his life? And Maitremuni goes on to answer this.
अच्छे काम करता है फिर भी
And Maitremuni answers that a living entity does perform good acts, but the sufferings are due to his previous karma.
फ्यूचर में मिलेगा लेकिन पास्ट में वो कुछ बुरा कर चुका है भूतकाल में उसने जो बुरा किया है उसका फल वो वर्तमान में भुगतता है इस प्रकार तीसरे स्कंद के 7वें अध्याय में विदुर जी के प्रश्न
The 7th chapter of 3rd canto had the questions of Vidurji.
अभी ये कथा कौन सुना रहा है मैत्रेय ऋषि
So as of now, the katha is being narrated by Maitreya Muni to
को सुना रहे हैं
Vidurji.
प्रश्न पूछा था परीक्षित ने कि भाई मैत्रेय मुनि और विदुर जी के बीच में क्या चर्चा हुई तो कथा के अंदर कथा
So there is the story within the story going on, isn't it? In the 8th chapter of 3rd canto,
उत्पत्ति का वर्णन करते हैं
Maitreya Muni talks about the appearance of Brahmaji. In the 9th chapter, the recitation of mantras of Brahmaji towards the Lord. In the 10th chapter,
की सृष्टि का वर्णन करते हैं
10 types of universe of the Lord. In the 11th chapter, the time, Manvanta calculation of time gets mentioned. In the 12th chapter, the expansion of the universe. In the 13th chapter, Varaha incarnation of the Lord. That how Varaha incarnation happened. In the 14th chapter,
गर्भ धारण का वर्णन करते हैं
the conceiving by Diti.
स्कंद के चौथे अध्याय में किस प्रकार कश्यप ऋषि की पत्नी दीति का गर्भ कश्यप जी ने बहुत मना किया
So Diti was the wife of Kashyap Rishi. Kashyap Rishi, denied and attempted to convince Diti that this is the time of evening, but Diti did not listen to Kashyap ji, and because of conceiving during the evening time, she conceived two asuras.
15वें अध्याय में
In the 15th chapter of the 3rd canto, how Sankazik
को पार करके वैकुंठ में गए
reached Vaikuntha Lok, and when they reached Vaikunt, when they entered Vaikunt to have darshans of the Lord, they were stopped by Jai and Vijay.
होने पर सनकादिकों ने जय भगवान के पार्षद जय और विजय को श्राप दे दिया
So, because of being denied to have darshans of the Lord, Sankadik hold curse at Jai and Vijay. In the 16th chapter of 3rd canto, how Jai and Vijay from Vaikunt came to this material world.
भगवान ने ऑप्शन दिया देखो मेरी भक्ति करोगे तो 5 जन्म के बाद आओगे और मुझसे
So, Jai Vijay are nothing but the associates of Lord, that if you would do bhakti, you'll come to me with 5 births, but if you would have enmity with me, you'll come back after 3 births. In the second birth, Ravan and Kumbhakarna, and in the third birth, Shishupal and Dantvar, and in the first birth, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. In the 17th chapter of 3rd canto, the birth of Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. So how the world, the material world, got into terror at their birth. So the war of Lord Varaha and Hiranyaksha in the next chapter. And then in the 3rd canto, 19th chapter, how Lord killed Hiranyaksha. So if you allow me to say a very dear thing, so when Lord Varaha went on to take over Mother Goddess Earth on his protruding teeth, at that time Prithvi Devi started
की ओर देख रहे थे
Vikar, and Varaha Dev Ji was concentrating upon Prithvi Devi. So this was Priya Priyatam Leela as well as Aishwarya Leela as well.
भगवान वराह ने हिरण्याक्ष का वध किया। 20वें अध्याय में
In the 20th chapter,
अनेक प्रकार की सृष्टि का वर्णन,
different universes and material worlds created by Brahmaji, how Brahmaji expanded into Manu and Kshatrapa, and Manu and Kshatrapa were ordered to
और मनु और शत्रुपा से 2 पुत्र
produce progeny,
और 3 कन्या आकुति, देवहूति, प्रसूति का जन्म।
Tanpat and Priyavat, and 3 daughters were born.
तीसरे स्कंद के 20वें अध्याय में
So this is mentioned in the 20th chapter of the 3rd canto, and from the 21st chapter, Kardam takes the birth from Brahmaji, and Brahmaji ordered him to marry,
10,000 वर्ष तक तपस्या किए
and he meditated for 10,000 years of the demigods, and he was given a boon
कन्या के साथ तुम्हारा विवाह होगा,
that he shall be married to
विवाह कराएंगे।
a Dev Kanya. In the 22nd chapter,
कर्दम जी का विवाह
Dehuti getting married to Kardam Rishi, and in 23rd chapter, the story of
कर्दम ऋषि को समाधि
Kardam Rishi and
और 60 साल के बाद
Dehuti,
बाहर निकले तो देखा
you know, being distanced for almost 60 years.
सुख कर राख हो गई। आज तक मैंने इसे कोई आनंद नहीं दिया।
Now, Rishi Dehuti got into remorse that I have not been able to give any
इसलिए कर्दम ऋषि
pleasure to my wife, and hence Kardam Rishi, by way of his devotional power,
अनेकों अप्सराओं को
by way of his devotional power,
प्रमाण किए और उस सुंदर
brought back Dehuti into the healthy form and took her to the trip of the 3 worlds. In the 24th
कन्या
chapter of the 3rd canto,
और विवाहम च
the birth of
24वें अध्याय, तीसरे स्कंद के 24वें अध्याय में कर्दम और देवहूति से 9 कन्या का जन्म हुआ।
so the birth of 9 daughters from Dehuti and Kardam Rishi,
9 कन्या का
and the 9 daughters
24वें अध्याय
getting married gets mentioned in the 24th chapter of the 3rd canto. And along with this, the couple incarnation
के रूप में साक्षात
in the form of the son of Dehuti and Kardam Rishi, Lord appearing in the form of Kapil Avatar. So you see, Dehuti and Kardam Rishi had not sought, but Lord himself came because it was a successful devotional family and a household. So even Lord has the desire to take birth in such families.
25वें अध्याय में
In the 25th chapter of the 3rd canto,
ऋषि
that Rishi Kardam
लेकर वन में चले गए।
goes on for sannyas and went to forest, and then Dehuti ji
छाई हुई थी।
had
माँ देवहूति
strong remorse in her heart, and
भगवान कपिल
Dehuti, considering Kapil Dev ji as her guru, places a request to Kapil Dev ji to end her remorse and sufferings. Then Kapil Dev ji,
के तीसरे स्कंद में
in the 3rd cantos of 25th to 32nd chapter of 3rd canto, Kapil Dev ji,
32 अध्याय तक
from 25th to 32nd chapter,
सांख्य मार्ग
explains Bhakti Marg and Sankhya Marg to Dehuti ji, that how by way of bhakti one can attain peace and the sufferings can be relieved.
स्कंद के 33वें अध्याय में
In the 33rd chapter of 3rd canto, Dehuti ji goes on to understand all knowledge of elements and she attains nirvana, and Kapil Dev ji goes on for Ganga Sagar and stays at a helmet over there.
संहितायाम तृतीय स्कंद समाप्तः।
So this way the 3rd canto gets completed.
समाप्त हुआ जिसमें 33
So 33 chapters in the 3rd canto.
कैलकुलेटर भी मारते जाइएगा। अब श्रीमद् भागवत का चौथा स्कंद प्रारंभ
Now the 4th canto of Shrimad Bhagavatam.
के अभी भी वो मैत्रेय और विदुर जी का ही चल रहा है।
You see, still the conversation of Maitreya and Vidurji is going on.
तो सुखदेव गोस्वामी महाराज परीक्षित को कहते हैं कि परीक्षित, हरिद्वार में ऋषिकेश में मैत्रेय मुनि ने विदुर जी को ये सुनाया। क्या सुनाया? चौथे स्कंद के प्रथम अध्याय में कहते हैं,
In the first chapter of the fourth canto,
वंश का वर्णन किया।
the clan of
स्वयंभू मनु की कितनी कन्या है?
daughters of Manu Maharaj,
कन्या।
the three daughters of Manuji, Akuti, Devuti, and Prasuti.
उनका वंश किस प्रकार से?
And then the plans further.
चौथे स्कंद के दूसरे अध्याय में
Then the second chapter of fourth canto, Lord Shiva and Daksh Prajapati conversation and debate.
दक्ष प्रजापति को प्रजापति का राजा बनाया गया, बहुत बड़ी मीटिंग की और
Daksh Prajapati,
भी आए, बेचारे मंगला आरती के मेंबर हैं शिव जी, थोड़ी सी जबकि आई, पता नहीं लगा ससुर जी आ गए।
so Daksh Prajapati ji and others came for a meeting, and as Daksh Prajapati entered, Lord Shiva took a nap, which brought strong agony to Daksh Prajapati, and hence Daksh Prajapati ji. In the third chapter of fourth canto, Devi Sati, witnessing the celebration of Yagna by his father, Devi Sati gets to develop the desire to reach his father's Yagna. But Lord Shiva denying Sati ji not to go for the Yagna, that because Devi Sati was not invited, so she should not go, because Lord Shiva knew that she would be insulted and she would not be able to take the insult. In the fourth chapter of the fourth canto, the narration goes like this, that Devi Sati, despite being denied by Lord Shiva by her own will, Devi Sati goes for the yagna and becoming a witness to the insult of her husband. Devi Sati, by her yogic power, by her yogic fire, burns her entire body. This was fourth chapter of the fourth canto. And when Devi Sati left her body, then the fifth chapter of the fourth canto, the mention goes like this: this Lord Shiva produced Veerbhadra and gave him the order that go and devastate the yagna of Daksh Prajapati. Veerbhadra and the entire army of Lord Shiva devastated the yagna of Daksh Prajapati. In the sixth chapter of the fourth canto, that Lord Brahma, another demigod, goes on to reach Kailash, offered the obeisance to Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva got pacified, and Veerbhadra was asked to retreat, but by that time Veerbhadra has created all the relevant destruction. So in the seventh chapter of fourth canto, Daksh Prajapati was given the head of goat. So what happened after Lord Shiva got pacified in the fourth canto, seventh chapter?
अब श्रीमद् भागवत के चौथे स्कंद के 8वें अध्याय में वगर जोए बोलू जो बापा, चौथे स्कंद के 8वें अध्याय में मैत्रेय मुनि विदुर जी को,
Maitreya Muni goes on to address Vidur Maharaj and narrates him the Katha of Dhruv Maharaj.
सुरुचि प्रेयसी पत्नी नेतरा तत्सुतो देवः, 4.8 में ध्रुव की कथा किस प्रकार से
How
मनु और शत्रुपा के छोटे पुत्र, बड़े पुत्र तो 5,
the younger son of Manu and Shatrupa,
उत्तानपाद की 2 पत्नी,
which is Uttanpad, who had 2 wives, Suniti and Suruchi.
पुत्र था उत्तम,
Suruchi's son was Uttam, who used to stay at palace, and Suniti's son, who was Dhruv, who used to stay in hut. So this is fourth canto, 8th chapter. And once Dhruv Maharaj was playing with his stepbrother, and Uttanpad made Uttam sit on his lap. Dhruv Maharaj wanted to sit in the lap, and Suruchi could not tolerate this, and being jealous, Suruchi pulled Dhruv by his hand and pulled out of the lap of the king that, oh poor boy, you do not have the capacity to sit in the lap of the king. If you want to have this desire, this can happen in the next birth, that you be born from my womb. Dhruva Maharaj got agitated, and he had strong, heavy heart that my stepmother was rebuking me, which is acceptable, but my father was my own and real. He did not utter a single word of protest. Now Dhruv Maharaj goes on to his mother Suniti, and you see the mother of Bharatvarsh, how she delivers a sermon to her son. And then Suniti ji said, oh my son, don't you worry. Lord Vishnu is all powerful and all capable, and he can offer you anything, any throne that you desire. So you go and to please the Lord. Suniti ji said that you will meet him in forest. Dhruv Maharaj said, oh my mother, bless me, I shall now return only with Lord Vishnu. And he abandoned his home and left for forest. So this is 8th chapter, 4th canto, Shrimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 8th chapter. In the 9th chapter of Shrimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, Dhruv Maharaj met Naradji, and Naradji sent him to Madhuvan, and by chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, for 6 months, Dhruv Maharaj kept on giving up food. So to begin with, he would have some berries in 3 days. In the second month, he would rely upon leaves in 6 days. In the third month, after 9 days, he would have some water. In the fourth month, he gave up upon water, and then giving up on breathing. The entire material world and the universe started shaking, and Lord appeared on Garun, and Lord Vishnu gave his darshan to Dhruv Maharaj, and taking the boon from from Vishnu, Dhruv Maharaj comes back to his home. In the 10th chapter of 4th canto, Dhruv Maharaj was the king, and Dhruv Maharaj attacked Yaksh, and there was a bloodshed of thousands of Yaksh. In the 11th chapter, Swambhu Manu came that we are the Prajapati, and we have the order to produce progeny, and you're killing everyone. So after being counseled by Manu Maharaj, Dhruv Maharaj stopped killing the Yaksh. In the 12th chapter of 4th canto, for 36,000 years, Dhruv Maharaj ruled on this earth, and with his material body, Nand and Sunand came with the golden throne and plane, and Dhruv Maharaj was carried by Nand and Sunand along with his body and went to Vaikunt.
और उसी समय साक्षात मौत, साक्षात मृत्यु दोनों हाथ जोड़कर ध्रुव के आगे खड़ी है कि हे ध्रुव महाराज, विमान ऊपर है, आप एक काम कीजिए, मेरे मस्तक पर अपना चरण रखिए और विमान पर चढ़ जाइए.
So death with folded hands appeared, and the death requested Dhruv Maharaj to place his feet on the head and forehead of death and board the plane. So this is how Dhruv Maharaj reached Vaikunt.
विदुर जी के साथ संवाद चल रहा है, वो कहते हैं ध्रुव महाराज का वंश, और ध्रुव महाराज के वंश में ही एक बहुत सुंदर राजा हुए जिसका नाम था अंग, महाराज
Ang, Maharaj Ang.
लेकिन 15वें अध्याय में 14वें अध्याय में वर्णन है कि महाराज अंग तो
But in the 14th chapter, it is mentioned that he was a very wonderful king and his wife was Sunita.
जो अपने नाना के स्वभाव पर गया,
They had a son who was on the nature of his maternal grandfather, and his son was Vain. So his story is there in the 14th chapter of 4th canto. So how he exploited the subjects, and because of such exploitation, Maharaj Ang left the place. See, he started collecting taxes from rishis and sages and saints. Now a curse was hurled at him. The sages and saints from the body of Venu produced a son, a male and a female, which was nothing but the incarnation of the Lord. So Pitru Maharaj appeared in the 16th chapter of 4th canto. So the glory of Pitru Maharaj gets mentioned in this chapter of 4th canto. In the 17th chapter, so because of the exploitation of rain, the earth stopped producing grains, medicines. The body started getting frail. Famine started happening. And Maharaj Pitru now goes after earth. Now, earth takes the form of a cow, and Pitru is running after the earth, got hold of the earth. Pitru Maharaj, by milking the earth, brought back grains and medicines to us. So this is mentioned in 18th chapter of 4th canto. Now, Pitru Maharaj went on to do a beautiful yajna, and he completed 99th Ashwamedh Yajna. And when 99th Ashwamedh Yajna, was completed, Indradev was in the worst of his tension that he would lose his position. Now Indra started producing obstacles in the yajna. Then Pitru Maharaj got agitated, but the Brahmin said that Pitru Maharaj, you should not develop anger, because anger should not develop in host during any yajna, then he would never get the fruits of yajna. You should not worry, whosoever is producing obstructions, we would be able to pull that. So now the Brahmins were able to pull Indra. Now Indra was about to be given in Ahuti. Lord Vishnu appeared immediately at the same time. This story gets mentioned in 20th chapter of the 4th canto, and took Pitru Maharaj to a side and asked him to relieve Indra. Pitru Maharaj said, "Oh my Lord, who is at a mistake?" Lord Vishnu said, "Yes, that Indra has committed error." So Pitru Maharaj said, "Then who should be counseled, me or Indra?" To which Lord replied. So you see, a lot of principles were talked about. Lord Vishnu said, "O Pitru, the one who is intelligent must be counseled. The fool should not be counseled."
कई बार हम लोग भी कहते हैं बस सब कुछ हम ही सहन करेंगे, हाँ, क्योंकि हम बड़े हैं, हम बुद्धिमान हैं, बुद्धिमानों को ज्यादा सहन करना पड़ता है। मैं आपको पूछूं, बुद्धिमान और पागल का युद्ध हो तो कौन जीतेगा? पागल ही जीतेगा।
If there is a conflict between intelligent and mad, who would win? It is mad. If there is a war between a virtuous person and a non-virtuous person. A non-virtuous person would win because if he starts hurling abuses, a virtuous person will stay quiet. So this is all at the material level. This does not mean that you are a loser. Lord Vishnu said, "Oh Prithu, only the intelligent one needs to be counseled. Indra is mad. He is after the position and the place." Now Maharaj Prithu understood the point of Lord Vishnu, that I am not looking for post. I have been doing this yajna to please you. Lord Vishnu said, I am happy, I'm pleased, I have appeared here. Now you leave Indra. Maharaj Prithu set Indra free. Then Lord Vishnu said, you have not only pleased me and also left Indra, ask whatever you have a desire of. Then in the 20th chapter of fourth canto, Lord Prithu asked for 10,000 years from Lord Vishnu because these 2 years are very less to listen to your katha. So if I have 10,000 years, I would be able to listen 10,000s of kathas parallelly. And hence, this was the mention in 20th chapter. In the 21st chapter, Maharaj Prithu counsels his subjects. Sankadik, etc., gave sermon to Prithu in 22nd chapter of 4th canto. In the 23rd chapter, Maharaj Prithu goes for forest for meditation, and he attained Lord by way of meditation. In the 24th chapter of the 3rd canto, the clan and the family of Prithu Maharaj finds a mention. How in the clan of Prithu Maharaj Prachetas were born. And Prachetas were given the sermon by the gods, and this is what is called as Rudra Geet. In the 25th chapter of 4th canto, Puranjan Adhyay was narrated. So Puranjan Akhyan is mentioned from 25th to 29th chapter of 4th canto. 29th chapter is the conclusion. This is a very beautiful narration from 25th to 29, and 29th chapter is the conclusion. So that king is nobody else but you and me. In the 30th chapter of the 4th canto, Prachetas got the boon of Lord Vishnu. In the 31st chapter, Prachetas were given sermons by Naradji and getting the highest praise. And this is how the 4th canto of the 4th canto gets completed, and the 4th gets completed. In the 5th canto's 1st chapter, Priyavad's story gets narrated. So Priyavad was the eldest son of Manu Maharaj. Initially, he did not want to get married. Then Brahmaji brought Lord Brahma, and Brahmaji narrated and counseled Priyavrat.
हुई उसमें से 3 कवि महावीर और संवत तीनों को ब्रह्मचारी बना दिया और बाकी को 7 को 7 द्वीप का राजा बनाया। महाराज प्रियव्रत के ज्येष्ठ पुत्र अग्निग्रह थे, उसको जम्बू द्वीप का राजा बनाया।
So the king of Jambudvip was Agnigra. This story gets mentioned in the 2nd chapter of 5th canto. Agnigra had 9 sons. Jambudvip was divided into 9 segments, and the eldest son was Nabhi. Maharaj Nabhi in Jambudvip was made the king of Bharat Varsha. So 3rd chapter of 5th canto. So you should be noticing, writing it. So the 4th canto, 31 chapters, and in the 5th canto, third chapter gets mention of Nabi Maharaj. Meru Devi, the wife of Nami Maharaj, did not have children for many years. Got a yagna conducted. Lord got pleased, and the voice appeared. So the voice said that there is no child in their fortune. So because they have no child in their fortune, so I would myself come as their son. So Meri Devu and Maharaj Nabi had Lord in the form of his son, and this incarnation was Bhagwan Rishabh.
सो ऋषभ अवतार है। अब ये भगवान ऋषभ देव के अवतार की कथा 5वें स्कंद के 4थे अध्याय में है।
So the fourth chapter of the 5th canto is the Lord Rishabh's story.
वर्णन। उनके राज्य में इंद्र वर्षा करना बंद कर दिया था, लेकिन भगवान ऋषभ देव ने अपने योग बल से राज्य में वर्षा करवाई। इंद्र घुटना टेक दिया।
So Indra had stopped raining during the time, but Lord Rishabh was able to win over. So he got married and had 100 sons, 100 children. Once Rishabh reached Brahmavarth region, where he met all his children, and he gave sermons to all his children. And the great sermon of Rishabh in the 5th canto's 5th chapter. Very beautiful sermon.
नायम देहो देह भाजा निर्लोके कष्टान कामान अर्हते विडभुजामि तपो दिव्यम पुत्र कायेन सत्वम शुद्धेत यस्मात् ब्रह्म सौख्यम त्वनंतम एवं मनः कर्म वशम प्रयुक्ते अविद्या आत्मनि उपदीय माने प्रीति न यावत नैवासुदेवे न मुच्यते देह योगे न तावत। सो इस प्रकार से बहुत सुंदर भगवान ऋषभ देव ने उपदेश दिया।
God, Rishabh Dev gave very beautiful sermons.
उनके जो 100 पुत्र थे, उनमें से 81 पुत्र कर्मकांडी ब्राह्मण हो गए।
Because of the sermon, the 81 sons of Rishabh Dev became Karmkandi Pandits. The rest 9 sons became the kings of 9 Raj, 9 places. And further, the 9 sons became popular as the 9 highly elevated persons, and the remaining one son, the eldest son of Rishabh Dev, whose name was Bharat, and he became the king of Ajnab Varsh, Maharaj Bharat. The sermon of Rishabh Dev in 5.5. In the 6th chapter of 5th canto, he went to his abode. In the 7th chapter of 5th canto, the mention and description of Maharaj Bharat, how the king Bharat went for good governance, though his kingdom was Ajnab, but because he did such good rule, so the subjects of his kingdom renamed the kingdom to the credit of their king as Bharat Varsh. And because Maharaj Bharat followed Varnashrama Dharma, and hence he got Vairagya in his youthdom. He renunciated all his kingdom, subjects, and slaves and servants, went at the bank of river Gandaki and started staying there at the ashram. In the 8th chapter of the 5th canto, it is mentioned that how Maharaj Bharat went on for devotion and association, and further moving on, he reached to the level of mood. So as soon as the Bhagavad name appears, you see, he would be in trance. But an incident so happened that a lion was chasing a deer which was pregnant. Now this deer which was pregnant, crossed the river, and the delivery of the newborn happened. The lion, the lion ate away the deer, but the newborn was left behind in the river. Maharaj Bharat, with kind heart, brought the newborn deer out of river and brought it back to his ashram. Now he would very well take care of the small infant deer, and in this manner developed strong attachment to the deer that to a huge extent you forget everything, the devotional service towards the Lord. Only that he started passing time with the deer. And then finally, one day, the deer got lost into the woods. So if it was lost, not a big deal, because after all, it is the creature of forest, but Maharaj Bharat had huge lamentation for this deer, and he died in the remorse of the deer. And Shrimad Bhagavatam says, when you die, you see, whosoever would be in your memory and heart, you would get such a birth in the next birth. So now he was born as the deer in the next birth. And hence he got the next birth as deer. But because he was in devotional service, so he was able to recall his previous birth. But he was not able to engage in devotional service. And one day, the same deer jumped into the river Gandaki and gave up his life. And now the same Bharat Maharaj in the third birth was born in the Brahmin family. This is mentioned in 5.9. Now, he could recall his previous birth of being a deer and also that of a king. But on purpose, he never presented his knowledge. He stayed as a fool, as ignorant person. And hence in the 10th chapter of 5th canto, he is referred to as Jar Bharat. Now, after the death of his father, his brothers made him sit at the shop. Now, this Jar Bharat would offer everything free from the shop. Now, all the brothers made him now to stand as a statue in the field to stray away the birds. Now, the story goes like this. So, the story goes like this. Once, Jar Bharat, once the king of Shaubik Desh, after having the desire to attain knowledge, was going to Ganga Sagar, and 4 people were carrying the palanquin. Amongst those 4 persons, one of the carrier went ill. So the king ordered, go and search for a person. The 3 carriers got to notice
जड़ भरत जी बोले ये बंदा उठा पाएगा, ये तो अकेला ही उठा लेगा. जड़ भरत को लिया.
Now Jar Bharat joined the carrier service. नीचे कीड़े मकोड़े देखे तो वो कूद जाते, वो 3 जन तो छोड़ देते, वो अकेले पालकी लेकर कूद जाते. So now if there was any insect, all the 3 carriers would leave aside, but Bharatji would continue with the carrier. फिर से चलते, फिर से कीड़े मकोड़े देखते, जीव जंतु को बचाने के लिए उसे कूदते, तो पालकी लेकर आगे चले जाते, वो 3 पीछे रह जाते. So now this way Jar Bharatji, in order to protect the creatures, would jump and carry the palanquin. The king got very much angered. So in the 11th chapter of the 5th canto, for the first time uttered in the life and says, O king, what would you put me in a place? You go and get yourself treated.
15 दिन से हम लोग धूप में चल
For
रहे हैं,
15 days, we have been walking in all the weathers.
सहन हम कर रहे हैं और तू मखमल में बैठकर गादी पर बैठकर परेशान तू है। मतलब ये तेरे मन का रोग है और तू मुझे मारेगा। तू मुझे मार कर भी नहीं मार पाएगा क्योंकि आत्मा कभी मरती नहीं। नैनम छिदन्ति शस्त्राणि नैनम दहति पावक। आत्मा कभी मरती नहीं।
Because the soul never dies, says Bharat. Now Raghuvar realized that he cannot be an ordinary person because he's talking such highly exalted things. Now Raghuvar said, "Oh dear, tell me who you are." Then Bharatji introduced himself and he said, "Have you heard of King Bharat?"
सदियों के वो राजा बहुत बड़े
Which the reply was, yes, that he had been a great king. I am the same King Bharat. Then I went into the body of deer. Now Raja Raghuvan considered and made Jar Bharat as his guru, and in the 11th chapter of 5th canto, he raised many queries to Jar Bharatji, and Jar Bharatji replied almost every query. And Sri Sukdev Goswami explained Bhavatavi explanation from the mouth of Jar Bharatji. And then in the 14th chapter of 5th canto, there was the conclusion. In the 15th chapter of the 5th canto, Maharaj Bharat's clan gets a mention. How the clan progressed. When Sukdev Goswami Maharaj, in the 16th chapter of 5th canto, explains this entire universe. In the 17th chapter of 5th canto, Ganga and Lord Sankarshan Dev's Stuti finds a mention. In the 18th chapter, different years are mentioned. In the 19th chapter of 5th canto, King Kurushvarsh gets mentioned, where Lord Hanuman resides and recites the name of the Lord. Bharatvarsha gets a mention. In the 20th chapter of the 5th canto, the rest of the 6th Dweep and mountain gets mentioned. In the 21st chapter, sun and its feet are mentioned. And in the 22nd chapter, different planetary systems and their positions find a mention. In the 23rd chapter, Shishumar, and 24th, the position of Rahu and Tal with the Talatal. And then in the 25th chapter, 5th canto, Bhagwan Sankarshan is explained and the Stuti. And in the 26th chapter of 5th canto, hell finds a mention. That what is hell? What happens in Nark? 28 types of Nark are mentioned. Illicit sex in Taptasur, and how punishments are hurled are given in 5.26. And listening to this, Parikshit Maharaj got trembled. Now, in this manner, Sukdev Goswami Maharaj went on to narrate 5 cantos. So 2.5 days passed by, and almost we are also coming to a close today for today's Katha. So we have almost reached in the middle of Shrimad Bhagavatam. From 6th to 12th canto, Maharaj Parikshit would listen to the Katha being narrated by Sukdev Goswami. And now, listening to the Katha, Maharaj Parikshit will make Anumodan also. In 5 shlokas, Maharaj Parikshit did his Anumodan. So when Sukdev ji asked how Parikshit ji is feeling about Bhagavatam narration, so Parikshit Maharaj said 5 shlokas facing towards Ganga. And before Takshak would
यूं तो आज
come,
भाद्र पूर्णिमा थी, लेकिन क्या
Parikshit
करें
Maharaj went
यहाँ तो
for the
सब कुछ
eternal
मिलने
abode.
वाला है, तो अब वो सब कल आएगा। और क्योंकि मैं तो एक ही मिनट में सब कंप्लीट कर सकता हूँ, लेकिन मैं चाहता हूँ कि थोड़ा सा विस्तार से कहूँ ताकि आपको भी ध्यान में रहे। तो 5वें स्कंद में 26 अध्याय हुए हैं।
So in the
ठीक है?
5th canto,
तो 5वें स्कंद में
26
टोटल कितने अध्याय हुए
chapters
कौन बताएगा?
in canto,
माइक
5th
ऑन
canto.
है। 5 स्कंद तक कितने अध्याय की कथा हुई? यस, अमित नारायण प्रभु जरा अब इनका माइक ऑन कीजिए।
119 अध्याय।
So there are 119 chapters in the 5 cantos.
है ना, गड़बड़ नहीं कर रहे ना? ठीक है, ओके। सो 119 अध्याय की
So
कथा हुई।
119 chapters we have covered in the 5 cantos. There are total 335. So we will continue
धन्यवाद देते हैं
tomorrow.
हम
So special thanks to Jetwa family. So the family of late Shri Purushottam Anand Jetwa.
स्मृति में ये सुंदर
So this family has organized this beautiful katha in the loving memory of Purushottam Anand Jetwa
भानु माता
and in the loving memory of Devi Ma Jetwa, Purushottam Jetwa, Banu Ben, Jaya Ben, Nitin Jetwa,
हंसा बहन, जयंत भाई, जगदीश भाई, राजेश भाई, हितेश भाई,
Harilal Bhai, Chagan Lal Bhai, Ratan Ben,
आज
and
उन्होंने
special
आधे
thanks
भागवत सुना है।
to all the
आधे
hosts
भागवत का सब्जेक्ट कल
from
सुनकर परीक्षित
Kenya and Australia.
आइए
So I
जय
extend
जयकार
my
के साथ हम आज के सत्संग को
heartfelt
आरंभ
thanks and
करते हैं।
gratitude to each one of you.
ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्
So let us bring a close to the second
भगवतम
day
की
katha. Hare Krishna,
श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य
Radhe
भगवान
Shyam.
की